You're definitely underestimating this spice in your kitchen. This little helper is more powerful than half the stuff in your medicine cabinet. We add it to compote, to mulled wine for the aroma. But what it does inside your body is a whole different story. It kills bacteria, suppresses viruses, holds back inflammation, works against fungi, and even paralyzes the eggshells of parasites. This is a concentrated biologically active substance that, in laboratories, is used as an antiseptic. And yes, it works as a painkiller, as a remedy for bloating, as immune protection, and as the most powerful antioxidant. Today, I'll tell you what this 20-ruble spice does inside your body, where it truly helps, and in which cases it might actually harm you. Stay tuned until the end of the video. You will never look at your kitchen shelf the same way again. Cloves are the dried flower buds of the Syzygium aromaticum tree, also interestingly known as the clove tree. The main component of cloves is eugenol, making up to 85%. It's a powerful antiseptic, a strong anti-inflammatory agent, and an antioxidant that contains flavonoids, tannins, and triterpenes. And it's one of the most concentrated spices in terms of biologically active substances. It's simply amazing. And to understand why clove is considered a natural antibiotic, let's take a closer look at its composition. Clove contains eugenol, which, on the one hand, disrupts bacterial membranes. And this is a very important property because it's not so much about fighting the bacteria themselves as it is about targeting their shells, their membranes. Eugenol stops the growth of pathogenic fungi. It suppresses viral activity. And even with well-known viruses, very powerful and aggressive ones like the herpes virus, for example, clove is very effective against them as well. Clove eugenol inhibits the synthesis of prostaglandins, thereby enhancing its anti-inflammatory effect. And according to laboratory studies, eugenol is active against Candida, Staphylococcus aureus, Escherichia coli, viruses including herpes viruses, as I mentioned, and rotavirus. So this is simply an amazing spice. And clove is one of the most popular components in antiparasitic protocols in phytotherapy. No matter how many antiparasitic protocols I review, clove is always included in one form or another. Sometimes it even surpasses colloidal silver in terms of effectiveness. Although these are different things, but that's just how effective it is. It is capable of breaking down the eggshells of parasites, worms, basically, and other various pathogens, and it can reduce the activity of pinworms, roundworms, giardia, toxocra, dysentery bacteria, paratyphoid bacilli, diphtheria bacillus, cholera bacteria, plague, influenza virus, intestinal pathogens, in short. A huge number of pathogenic microorganisms that clove works against. Of course, this is not an alternative to medicinal antibacterial therapy for confirmed diseases or infections, or for confirmed helminth infections. This is not the same as medicinal therapy, but clove can be used as a supplementary component for certain conditions. Clove is just one of the powerful natural remedies, and in fact, there are many more, forgotten and underestimated. The most well-known effect of cloves and eugenol, the substance it contains, is pain relief. Can you imagine? It blocks sodium channels, thereby reducing pain transmission. And that's why eugenol has been used in dentistry for decades. Cloves can relieve toothache, reduce inflammation, and kill bacteria in the mouth. Grandmas, I've often heard them say, just chew on a clove, and you know your bad breath will go away. Chew on a clove, it's better than gum. But you have to understand that cloves and bad breath are two different things. If someone has bad breath, it's already a result of certain processes happening in the gastrointestinal tract. Cloves alone won't cut it here, but chewing on a clove is just a temporary measure. It's not a cure. Overall, it's a natural dental preventative. It reduces dental plaque, prevents cavities if you chew it, fights periodontitis, strengthens the gums, and improves enamel, since it contains a lot of vitamins and minerals. For example, vitamins A, C, E, D, K, B1, B2, B6, and B9. Minerals such as calcium, potassium, phosphorus, magnesium, iron, zinc, manganese. Very few spices contain such a rich combination all at once. Another interesting property is that clove contains caryophyllene. This is a natural terpene that, besides clove, is also found in basil, black pepper, and cinnamon. It's precisely this compound that gives clove its spicy, warm, and pleasant aroma. Caryophyllene is the main anti-inflammatory and pain-relieving component in clove. It's also called a natural cannabinoid. Caryophyllene directly activates CB2 receptors. This is a type 2 cannabinoid receptor, which is responsible for inflammation, pain, and immune response. But at the same time, caryophyllene does not affect CB1 receptors at all. So there's no psychoactive effect, no dependence, no euphoria. These are two different types of receptors. Caryophyllene produces a powerful anti-inflammatory effect by activating CB2 receptors. CB1, that's the one in that direction, right. And caryophyllene reduces cytokines in the body, substances that ultimately trigger various interleukins and cause inflammation. It's these that cause pain in the muscles, joints, intestines, and skin. On top of everything else, caryophyllene also has a pain-relieving effect, working as a natural analgesic through CB2 receptors. Clove is very beneficial for arthritis, inflammatory joint diseases, neuralgias, and gastrointestinal spasms. Clove, among other things, is one of the richest natural sources of caryophyllene, which makes it one of the most powerful natural spices for health, because it works against parasites, fungi, and bacteria, reduces inflammation, relieves pain, soothes the intestines, helps with joint pain, strengthens the immune system, and acts gently, safely, and comprehensively thanks to its content of eugenol and caryophyllene. But due to the high concentration of superactive substances I just mentioned, you should, of course, use it very carefully. Thanks to its high content of eugenol, caryophyllene, and a large amount of antioxidants, among other things, clove also improves mood, reduces anxiety, helps with nervous exhaustion and stress, and is often used in aromatherapy. As usual, there are a lot of pros, but also some cons that you should be aware of. The benefits of clove. In addition to what I've already mentioned, it reduces bloating, improves enzyme production, and, by the way, helps with various conditions, for example, with dyspepsia, and regulates stomach acidity. And this can be both a benefit and a drawback. Since clove is quite a pungent spice and stimulates the production of gastric juice, it can worsen certain conditions, especially if you already have high stomach acidity. So you need to be aware of this. And of course, because of its pungency, it can irritate the stomach lining in cases of gastritis or peptic ulcers, and may cause heartburn in sensitive individuals. And, for example, concentrated clove oil is very harsh, and it can actually cause burns to the mucous membranes. So you really need to be very careful with it. I highly recommend that people with cardiovascular diseases take a closer look at cloves, because cloves reduce platelet aggregation. That is, they have an anticoagulant effect, which is great for increased blood clotting, improved microcirculation, and lower levels of inflammatory markers. By the way, it's important, if you are taking any anticoagulants, such as warfarin or others, it's not recommended to combine them with cloves. In addition, for the cardiovascular system, it's very important that taking it improves blood flow. Cloves help prevent the formation of atherosclerotic plaques. It has a vasodilating effect, meaning it's hypotensive. It lowers blood pressure. It strengthens the walls of blood vessels. And overall, for people with cardiovascular diseases, it's just an amazing natural must-have. Cloves also increase the level of glutathione in our body. This is the main antioxidant in our body, an activator of the second phase of detoxification in the liver, and it's a very important detoxifier. Cloves also reduce the level of free radicals that destroy our cells, that damage them, and that can cause various types of cancer. Cloves also reduce inflammation in the mucous membranes and speed up the response of immune cells. In the fall and winter, it's one of the strongest preventive spices against various infections. Cloves are in the top 3 in terms of antioxidant capacity, and in strength, they surpass blueberries, curcumin, ginger, and oregano. It's a remedy that costs just 20 rubles, and yet it has so many of these wow effects. That's why it's so often used in various anti-aging strategies and approaches. By the way, there are some interesting studies showing that clove extracts can help relieve menstrual pain, ease the symptoms and severity of PMS, premenstrual syndrome, and improve uterine tone. By the way, you need to be careful with this during pregnancy, because uterine tone is no joke, but there are studies that show these kinds of effects. Cloves are dangerous if you have gastritis or a stomach ulcer, because they increase irritation. Definitely not during pregnancy, right? Also not during breastfeeding. Infants and children under 3 should absolutely not have it. And if someone is allergic to any spices, take it with caution. If you are taking anticoagulant medications, the effect may be intensified. And clove essential oil should not be taken orally or applied to the skin undiluted. It can cause burns. How should it be used properly? If it's a nutraceutical, then follow the instructions on the bottle. If we want to brew an immune-boosting tea for immunity, then we add 1 or 2 cloves to the tea or to cooked food. If we want to improve digestive health, it's good to chew 1 clove bud after a meal, because it reduces bloating, eliminates bad breath, and so on. For the prevention of various infections, we brew clove tea, Here, you can add cinnamon, ginger, and lemon to the cloves. If we want to prevent things like stomatitis or oral infections, for the mouth, we use a decoction. We rinse the mouth with this decoction or use oil, but you need to be careful with it, diluting it at a ratio of 1:5. Decoctions, clove plus water or clove plus rose have worked great. And if we're talking about dosages, 1 to 3 clove buds per day is safe. 5 to 7 buds is already a therapeutic dose. More than 10 can cause irritation of the gastrointestinal tract. And of course, all the value of cloves is in the whole buds, because ground cloves oxidize quickly and lose their properties. By the way, there's this old grandma's remedy. I remember it well. Cloves were infused in cologne and used for sciatica. This is a super common folk tip because it has a warming effect, which brings temporary relief. So people used to rub themselves with cloves infused in cologne for sciatica. And honestly, to sum it up, I want to say that cloves cost just 20 rubles at the store, but often they're more powerful than half the stuff in your medicine cabinet. They kill bacteria, suppress viruses, control inflammation, work against fungi, and even paralyze those egg-shaped, nasty, toughest parasite shells. I bet you didn't even suspect this was such a miracle remedy. So I hope today's video was super useful for you.